Welcome back, everybody. Today, you are going to really appreciate what we will be covering. I'm so sure of it because there's a lot of confusion about what action you should take when you're doing an organic outreach campaign on LinkedIn. And so today, what we'll do is talk about creating a campaign calendar. This is a little bit of a sneak peek. We will be looking at a campaign roadmap or journey map or whatever you want to call it, beginning with market research, ending with conversions to sales funnel. And we will also be looking at a daily action plan so that you know exactly what you're supposed to do every single day. And this helps big time with consistency, but that is getting ahead. Let's circle back here and kind of do a really quick review on what we've gone over so far. By now, you should know who to target because of what we discussed on the money client matrix. And you should have a good outreach list that's laser focused because you are using Boolean in search. Hopefully, you're doing that in Sales Navigator. And the big wall that people hit next is they say, well, what comes next? What am I supposed to do? Now that I have this list, I want to talk to them. How should I go about doing that? What should I do? And the kind of sad thing here is LinkedIn doesn't give you any advice. They don't give you any kind of action plan or roadmap. And that kind of bothers me because the lack of information actually results in a lot of bad practice. And so if LinkedIn's not going to give you any advice, I will. I'll give you a roadmap. I'll give you an action plan. And it is battle tested because I have personally had thousands of B2B sales conversations on LinkedIn that have resulted in literally millions of dollars in sales. So trust me on this. These are the things that you want to do every single day to build the momentum of your B2B lead gen machine. So let's talk about what you need. You need big picture and little picture. So the first thing here, you need a roadmap to show you what an organic LinkedIn campaign looks like from start to finish. A lot of people, because there's not a whole lot of info out there, and like I said, LinkedIn doesn't give you anything, they have no grid for where to start. They know that they want leads, and sure, that's the end goal is conversion to sales funnel and becoming a client. That's the end goal, but what about all of the things that happen in between? What should those steps be? What does it look like? So in a moment, we're going to go over a roadmap, and what that's going to do is that's going to give you vision. That's going to give you big picture stuff so that you can see where you're going. And I want you to get creative with how you do this, but you really need to get vision with big picture stuff. And then what we'll do is we'll go over a campaign calendar because let's be honest, a lot of people suck at doing things on a regular basis and being consistent. Life gets busy. You get a little bit lazy. It is what it is. I'm going to give you a campaign calendar, and that's going to give you a daily action plan so you're not fumbling around wondering what you should do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Fun stuff. So let's begin here and look at the campaign roadmap. We could spend a lot of time talking about each one of these steps, and this is like a mini course. So we're going to kind of breeze over some of the things, and it'll all make sense. But just so you know, you could spend a lot of time in depth talking about each one of these. You'll see that here in just a minute. So what you begin with is market research. And this is exactly what we talked about in the earlier lessons when we're talking about who are your money clients? Can you find them on LinkedIn? Let's get the list. Let's see how many people there are. Those are super critical things that you need to know. So you do the market research, and then what you're going to do is optimize your profile. That's a huge topic, huge conversation. We don't have time for that. You need to make your profile matter to this group that you want to do business with. Then you're going to plan out your messages. If you say the same thing 1,000 times, it's really helpful to have planned it out beforehand so that you don't spend 10 minutes thinking about how you should reply, and then you'll end up having unanswered messages that fall through the cracks, and planning it out is just helpful for 100 reasons. You're going to plan it out. Keep in mind it's going to change once you release it into the wild. And then the action starts where you start sending the custom connection requests. People will connect with you on LinkedIn, and that's when the magic happens. You start your messaging. It's a one-on-one conversation. Through that dialogue, you'll find if someone is maybe not a lead, conversation ends. That's totally cool. And by the way, lead, it's probably better to use the language prospect because there's going to be people who you'll find out that they're just never going to be a good fit. That's totally cool. Some people, they're going to be a lead right now, yes, but some people, most people actually, they're going to be a prospect who maybe they're just not at the end of the sales cycle yet, and you want to continue on with that conversation here and stay top of mind. And this little box here, it's a really small, but if you were looking at it in a linear way and seeing how much time is invested into each one of these steps, this box right here, this takes the longest amount of time because you're getting people to know you, like you, trust you, you're staying top of mind, answering their questions, and you got to do it in a time efficient way because, it has to be intentional. But people go through the sales cycle. They might be, when you first talk to them, top of funnel, mid funnel, some will be at the bottom, but this takes time. And you'll find when we hop over to the campaign calendar that the majority of what you'll be doing every day falls into this one little box right here. You're having the conversation, you are being consistent, you're asking the right questions, and then you'll know when someone is ready for the call to action. You give them the call to action, you add them to the CRM. Fun little side note, depending on how techie you want to get, you can add them to CRM a little bit earlier, depending on what you want to do. There's all kinds of fun stuff that you can do there. LinkedIn has a couple CRMs that they say they integrate with SalesNav, but it's expensive. I think it's underwhelming. I hope it gets better. Right now, the built-in stuff with LinkedIn here is not amazing, so you have to do a manual process, but you can do some cool things to save a lot of time. That's another conversation for another time. Anyways, you want to get these people into your CRM, and honestly, right here to here, again, this is another really big topic, but I want you to remember it. I realize I'm being like a fire hydrant of information here, but this is really, really, really important. This right here, between the call to action and then the sales funnel, and then from sales funnel to convert to client, right here, like we can think of this trophy as, you win them as a client, there's money. But the call to action has to be right. And then right here, when they get sales funnel, they leave LinkedIn. Really is the conversation. It leaves LinkedIn. Maybe it's phone call, maybe it's a Zoom meeting, in-person meeting, email, whatever. If your sales funnel is weak, and again, this is not on LinkedIn. This is, like I said, email, phone, Zoom, whatever your sales funnel is. If this is weak, you could do amazing at this whole entire LinkedIn campaign. And if your sales funnel is the weak link in the chain, you're going to have a high conversion to sales funnel rate, but you're going to have a low acquisition rate. And that is something that you should be really, really aware of, because it's wonderful if your cost per lead is low, but you need to be looking at your cost per acquisition. And if that's too high, then you're going to be in trouble. So sales funnel, this is super critical. Doesn't happen on LinkedIn, but you need to know that it's really important and related to LinkedIn, just like with any other marketing channel. We went over that pretty fast. You can, rewatch this later, but just know it's always going to start with market research. Get your list, make sure that there's enough people there, optimize your profile, plan out your messages. You're going to start sending the custom connection request. People are going to accept, and then you start messaging. You have a conversation. Maybe they're never going to be a lead. Politely end the conversation. If they might potentially be a lead, if they're a good prospect, maybe it's 6 months from now, maybe it's now. Then you have a conversation. You stay top of mind when it's appropriate, and you'll know from the conversation you can give them that call to action, and then you can add them to your CRM, plug them into your sales funnel, and then when they convert, when you acquire them as a client, boom, there is money in the bank. So at a really high level, to give you vision, this is where you start market research, and then this is where it ends. They convert to your sales funnel from LinkedIn, and then your sales funnel has to be strong and get them as a client. That's big picture stuff. Now let's talk about your daily action plan, which we're going to call a campaign calendar. And I'm going to give you this as a download link here, but this is my suggestion. And this is going to help you be consistent, but I am a really big fan of you learning how to learn. So what I want you to do is I want you to take this campaign calendar. I want you to make it your own. And I think that this will be a tool to give you the structure to be consistent with the necessary things. But we'll talk about this in a minute. Things like how you stay top of mind, how you do in the news, all the stuff that you want to do on a regular basis. Get creative and make this your own. And be excited to do that. Be excited to learn. Be excited to release your own version of this into the LinkedIn wild. Let's kind of just back up here. If you're looking at a campaign and you're taking things, 1 month at a time. I like to think in 1 month intervals, probably just because I'm a service provider and, you do billings monthly, reportings monthly. So I find that doing a review and just kind of keeping things in a month to month view is very helpful. And let's just kind of begin here with the first of the month. What you want to do is just do a strategy review. Now, if this is your very first month, what that is going to look like is just go over your money clients, go over your messaging, give it one last look over, and then you're going to kick off the next day. But if this is month 2, it's still going to be very helpful to do a strategy review. Every single month, I think it's very, very wise to stop, review your KPIs, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. Review your KPIs, review your strategy, and adjust if you have to. If you're rolling in a campaign, it's a good idea to just pause it, especially if any of the KPIs don't look good. Just pause it, reevaluate it, and then kickstart it the next day. And right here, this really is where the action plan begins. What's going to happen here is you're going to have your list and you're going to start sending connection requests. That's going to look like this. Here's my list. I'm just going to open up Steve's profile here as an example. We're going to add a tag called invited pending. We'll talk about that another time if you're not familiar with tagging. And then I'm going to send Steve a custom connection request message. Well, I'll type that out and then I'll push send invitation. And you will go through the list and just work your way down. And a really convenient way to keep this list fresh. I mean, you can't double connect with people anyways. It won't let you. But you can do this, pass lead and activity, and you can remove contacted or viewed leads from this list. And then it's just very helpful where you just don't have to keep scrolling and you don't have to keep going to the next page. You can just stay right at the top. Send these people your custom connection request. How many? It's a great question. Depends on how much time you want to spend on LinkedIn. I think a really good practice is to do about 15 a day just for consistency. You can do more, but keep in mind, if you do more on the front end, you're going to have to be doing more messaging downstream, something to be aware of. So send out custom connection requests to all these guys. And then what you'll find is people will start accepting. And then once they accept, you can start sending that first message directly on LinkedIn. So let's hop over to the inbox. To get there, there are actually 2 inboxes. A lot of people aren't aware of this. I can go to the normal LinkedIn inbox, but we are going to be going to the Sales Nav inbox. Every day you're going to want to go into your Sales Nav inbox and see who has accepted your connection request. And what you'll find is that your connection request message becomes the first line of the thread here. Some people will reply to you first. Most people won't, so you'll be taking the initiative to message them first, which is why we call it sending the first message. And you should have already mapped all this out. So you'll take what you've mapped out, copy it, but don't just straight up paste it in here. You could, but I feel like that's a little bit too vague. What I like to do is just click their name here. I like to update their tag from invited because they have accepted. And if they have not replied, I would just go like this, add no reply. I would reread this person's profile. This is why I like to send that first message this way, because what I can do is, refresh myself with what is going on with this person's life and then send the message in here. I can copy paste it from what I've planned out, then I can tailor it so it's very unique. I might be very interested in who we share in common. Maybe this guy is posted on LinkedIn. I might take a look at that and glean some insights from him, look at his work history. Maybe we have some common ground. It's very, very helpful to send this first message from the profile instead of from in here, just because there's very limited information here. So you could type it out right here and then push send, and you have sent that first message. One thing to be aware of, when you send it from a profile right over here, it doesn't automatically update here. So you might want to just go through, see who needs a first message, open their profile, send it, and then just reload the page, and everything that you just sent will be at the very top. You can kind of batch it like that, and it helps things be a lot more consistent and together. That is what we mean by sending that first message. And you'll see, this is Wednesday. People have accepted from the connection request that we sent on Tuesday. On Wednesday, even though you're doing this, you also want to spend time sending more connection requests. This is something that you have to do every single day. Keep throwing logs on the fire every day. Connection request. Every day, connection request. Connection request. Connection request. Don't stop doing that, because as soon as you do, everything downstream dries up. So every single day, you're kind of just adding practices. Start with connection request. Wednesday, more connection request. Some people accept, send them that first message, and then by Thursday, if you feel like it's appropriate, if you're not rushing them, if you want to send a follow-up message or a second message to people who have not replied, you can do that. And then what's going to happen, though, really anytime from here forward, people are going to be replying to your messages. And that means that that's the dialogue that's going back and forth. And this right here, this is really what you are after. You are after people replying and having one-on-one dialogues with your target audience who are perfect potential clients. This is the money box, if you will. This is where you really need to ace all of these things, but this is the cream on top. Have to crush it on the one-on-one dialogue, replying to active conversations. And then Saturday, maybe you take the day off. Sunday, you take the day off. Here's the deal with weekends. I mean, LinkedIn's like a work thing, and some people, they don't work on Saturday and Sunday. Kind of depends on who you're talking to. Some groups, though, like business owners of smaller companies, you might actually find that you get a hold of them more easily on the weekends because they're just still working, but less and more likely to respond. So that's why I said, take this and play around with it. Make it match your unique strategy, your audience. Just mess around and have some fun, but do these things consistently as often as you can. The next week starts up, you're going to kind of fall into the rhythm. Connection request. Send those first messages to people that just accepted. Follow up with no replies. Reply to new messages with active conversations. Tuesday, same thing. Wednesday, same thing. Consistent, consistent, consistent. It's those 4 things that you want to do every day. Send connect. Send the first message. Follow up with no replies. Reply to new messages every single day. And then where this gets kind of fun too is you want to stay top of mind. Some people, they'll want to hear from you. Now, you got to be tasteful with this because you don't want to spam people, but it's going to be okay if you check in every once in a while, and you've got to have a good excuse. So maybe you send them marketing collateral. Maybe this month is maybe it's the 4th of July. So maybe Thursday is the 4th of July. Here in America, that's a big holiday. Maybe you send them a message on the 4th of July saying, hey, happy 4th of July. Maybe it's Christmas, maybe December 25th here, or Christmas Eve, the 24th. Maybe you send them a Christmas message. Whatever you got to do, take it 1 month at a time. This is what we're talking about right here. You're staying top of mind, sending those messages, having the conversations. Like in the very beginning, I mentioned this. This is the majority of what you're going to be doing in the overall campaign. This is where most of your time falls in. And because it might take someone a while to go through the sales cycle, maybe it's, 6 months or even a year, you've built momentum, you've stayed top of mind because you've been consistent about it every single day. And it's just like the snowball that goes down the hill, and it builds with time. So you can get creative. You can send this as collateral. Maybe there's something that you've created for a specific audience, and instead of just sharing it in the newsfeed, hoping someone sees it at that moment you share it, or the next couple of days before it goes away forever, send it to them directly through messaging, and do it at the right time, as to the best of your knowledge, when it's the best time for them. You can get really creative with how you stay top of mind. And I have this here as, like 1 time a month where I'm thinking this week I'll do top of mind to a segment, but I'll probably hit them all this week. And I don't want to burn people out. I don't want to be viewed as a spammer. So I might only do this once a month so that I'm touching base with them every 1 or 2 months, but it's in a helpful advisory way. And if you do it right, it's very tasteful. And then you've got top of mind in the news. This one is really cool. I'm going to be really brief about this because it's a whole long thing you can talk about. Here's my list. I can see who has been mentioned in the news here in the past 30 days. And if these guys are relationship first degree connection, I can just go like this. I can just go right up here, mentioned in the news last 30 days. Here is the article for Jeff. Here is the article for John. And if I wanted to, I could just go like this, message, and say, hey, John, great job being in the news on Internet Marketing Newswatch. That's what that website is. You had some great tips. Thank you. hey, now you can go home and tell your wife that you're a big deal. Haha. Anyways, it's like a nice relational way to stay top of mind in the news. This is, as you can see, in the past 30 days, which is why we have this just 1 day per month, because it's once every 30 days. So take this and, like I said, make it your own, but be consistent with these 4 things every day. So maybe top of mind is over, more connection requests, more first message, more follow-up with no replies, and more reply to new messages. And then at the end of the month, and this is just me, I'm a data analytics guy, I want to make sure that things are on point. I pause at the end of the month and I review my KPIs, because if I'm not getting, engagement rates that I want or the connection acceptance rates that I want, I need to know that, and I need to change my strategy. And that is where I go back here and I look at the strategy review. I say, okay, these are my KPIs. We'll talk about that another time. Super critical thing for you to know, how to measure KPIs. I use that info, review my strategy to make informed decisions, and then boom, start the month over again. Connection requests, maybe this has been changed a little bit. First message, maybe that's been changed a little bit because I did a strategy review. And you kind of go through the motions, and every single day you do these 4 things every single day. Connection request, first message, follow up with people who have not replied yet, and then reply to new messages, that is active conversations. When you are doing B2B sales on LinkedIn, the money is in the messaging. One-on-one communication is going to make up the majority of your LinkedIn campaign. Absolutely. It's going to be the majority of your time goes to one-on-one communication. The majority of your activity, it's all there, one-on-one messaging. And the thing with messaging is without a doubt one of the hardest things to do well. For sure, it is where most people fail, even if they're trying really hard. And if you drop the ball on messaging, you're not going to get any sales. And that is exactly why we will talk about using the quad messaging method in the next lesson. I'll see you there.